Hey everybody, Mr. Songer with you, and this is the 6th grade video for accidentals and learning about accidentals and how to play them in your music. One thing I wanted to show you about accidentals is that there are 3 of them that we use in music, and here they are right here. We have the sharp, which is the first one there, and then the next one is a natural, and then we have a flat. And these 3 symbols can occur in front of a note and affect what we do with the note. Sometimes people get confused with the natural sign. The natural sign is simply the same note as if it would have no sharp or flat by it. In other words, a G natural is the same as G. Okay? But we have to use that natural sign sometimes in order to cancel out the sharp or flat, which we'll talk about here in a minute. If we take a look at this example here of a piano keyboard, you'll notice that there are white keys and black keys on a piano keyboard. And I have labeled the white keys with the letters that they are. And then you'll notice that the black keys are between the white keys. Now, the white keys are our natural notes, okay? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And then the black keys are our flat and sharp keys. And you'll notice the black keys have 2 different names. The note that's between C and D can be called C sharp or D flat. It's the same note. The note between D and E is D sharp or E flat. Same note, 2 different names. The way you can remember that is you'll notice that the black key between C and D is higher than C. Like if you were to sit on something sharp, you would jump up. So the C sharp is higher up than the C. And it's lower than the D. It's kind of like if you had a flat tire, you would go down. So D flat. Got it? So that's how we get those names. Also notice that there's not a black key between every white key. E and F and B and C have no black key. Technically, there is an E sharp, it would just simply be F. And technically, there is an F flat, technically, it would just be E. But we very rarely see those notes written that way. We usually just see them written as their naturals. So, how do these work in music? So, you'll notice right here, by the way, those black keys have a name on that last sheet, sorry, I didn't show that too. The notes that have 2 different names are called enharmonics. Enharmonics. Okay, so now, the next sheet. How does this work in the music? So, you'll notice on the first line here that we have a series of notes in treble clef. The first measure has a G and then an F sharp, and you know it's an F sharp because it has a sharp in front of it. But then there's a rule in music that says that sharp carries through the measure. So the 4th note of that measure is also an F sharp. Even though there's not a sharp sign by it, there's a sharp sign by the other F, and that means every F in that measure is going to be sharp. But then when the measure ends, then the notes don't retain the sharp. So you'll notice in the 2nd measure, the Fs are natural. All right? And you don't have to write anything by them. They're just natural. Now, on the 2nd line, you'll notice something that's interesting. The way some of you might be wondering, well, why do we have to ever use the natural sign? Well, here it is. In the first measure, we have a G and then an F sharp. But what if the composer wants to write an F natural after that sharp? And you already have that rule in effect that says the sharp carries through the measure. So if I just wrote another F, it would be sharp because of that rule. So if I want to make it natural, I have to use the natural sign to turn it back into an F. And then you'll notice in the next measure, it still is an F because the measure ends. But let's say I want to have an F sharp at the very end. Well, then I got to put a sharp sign by it. It's a very confusing rule in music. But just remember, when you see a sharp or a flat in a measure, it pertains to every time you have that note for the rest of the measure, unless you see a natural sign by it. Okay, now lately we've been learning the A-flat concert scale. So we're going to take a look at an enharmonic that you're seeing quite a bit now. And that is, and for each instrument, we're going to go through each instrument here really quickly. For flutes, that would be your D flat. Now D flat can also be called C sharp, and you see the fingering there, it's just pinky. Clarinets, in E flat, is also known as a D sharp, and the fingering for that is your thumb, 1 and 2 on your top hand, and then it's that bottom side key that you get with your first finger of those little 4 tiny keys near the top of your right hand. That would be E flat, or also called D sharp. If you play saxophone, we have B flat, also known as A sharp. And you see the fingering there for that. And I've also included that there are 2 other fingerings for B flat that you might do on your saxophone, which are totally fine. Trumpet, E flat and D sharp are the same note, and they're both fingered 2 and 3. Continuing on. Trombones, D flat and C sharp is the same note. It's in 5th position. Baritone tuba, D flat and C sharp are the same note, both fingered 2 and 3. And finally, percussion, D flat and C sharp is the same note, and you see where it is there on the keyboard. So there you go. There's your discussion on accidentals. It would be great for you to practice some of these out of your accident achievement book, and I bet some of your band music as well has some accidentals. It's a tricky thing to learn and to remember, especially that rule about accidentals carrying through the measure, and also that those black keys have 2 different names. And just remember, a lot of times people ask me, well, why are you showing us a piano keyboard when I don't play piano? I play this band instrument. It all pertains to your band instruments. It's just easier to see on a piano keyboard. But on all your instruments, like I just showed you, whenever you have a note that's flat, it has another name that's sharp, but it's the same note. So just remember that as you're learning these notes. Hopefully that helps you today.